Welcome back to Beyond the Bot, where we're bringing you the latest and greatest from Automate 2025. We're here on the floor, and we're excited to catch up with the folks from Siemens about some of the exciting updates that they have going on. I'm joined now by Colm Gavin, a business developer at Siemens. Colm, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, Colm, Siemens sits at the intersection of so many different things. You guys empower so many solutions. It gives you such a unique vantage point, and I'm really curious, what are some of the trends in the automation industry and the automation sector that excite you the most right now?
Well, there's three main trends that excite me the most right now. One is a continuation of what I've been working on for a long time, and I'll come to that in a moment because the two big ones that we're seeing, the first one is how to deploy AI to the shop floor. So that's AI, as we all know, is an extremely powerful tool, but can it be useful in industrial environments? Can it help operators running a machine to fix the machine, to get the machine back up and running sooner? So we've been partnering with Microsoft Copilot to come to the market with our industrial Copilot for operations. And we see a lot of value in that because very often operators are standing in front of machines when they're down trying to look at maybe cryptic alarm messages on the HMI panel. What can I do to get this back up and running sooner? And there could be a whole host of reasons that maybe it's very difficult for them to estimate and fix the problem quickly. If I have an AI tool chatbot that I can just ask, hey, why is the machine down? Or I don't understand this error code. Or maybe I know the machine is down. I can see it, it's not running. Can you give me, literally type it in or talk to the chatbot, can you give me a recommendation? And a prioritized recommendation, what should I do to get the machine back up and running? There's a whole host of use cases where as one shift is changing over or a new product is being introduced. A lot of things to help operators maintain and just keep the machine up and running. And then you have like a lot of, say, knowledge, the tribal knowledge leaving the industry. We want to capture that. If I can capture that and have that into a chatbot that has been pre-trained with like 30 years of industry knowledge, as long as it's in a textual format, we can bring that up into our chatbot, and then you can ask, okay, what is the most effective way to troubleshoot this machine to get it back up and running? That is, we're finding that we find that resonating very much with large or any end-use manufacturer because it's all about helping their operators. In many cases, maybe I have to ask a question in another language to get that response back. So training, enablement, everything to help the worker, and I think there's a tremendous opportunity with that. And Siemens, we have a differentiating technology on that where we combine static data, manuals, alarms, anything that we can, tribal knowledge that can be written down in a textual format. We push it up into the cloud and we combine that with running data from the machine. And the combination gives us this, I think, a differentiation of when you ask something of an industrial copilot, it can respond accordingly for that machine or that line. So that's a real good one.
That's incredible. So you're taking, really like 30 or 50 years of experience.
As long as we can get it in a textual format and we're updating it with the graphic images as well and getting it up into the cloud. We have on-premise planned as well, but the cloud right now is where we're hosting it in conjunction with Microsoft Azure, leveraging their Copilot.
So that's incredible.
So that was the real first one that we see how to say help operators. How can we help operators improve their lives, if you like? And the second one, maybe I got these confused, sorry, maybe this is about how to deploy AI to the shop floor. That's a whole other idea of, okay, vision system or some level of AI optimization on the machine. How do you deploy that down onto the shop floor and make it in a safe, secure way? And then how do you deploy it across multiple facilities in many areas, So management of AI applications down in the shop floor, we have a solution. We're leveraging our industrial edge platform, which allows us to basically containerize, Dockerize applications from you develop an application or I develop it or custom one or off-the-shelf Siemens. We can encapsulate that in a wrapper and we deploy it down onto an industrial edge system, which is basically very similar to how your iPhone operates. How do you deploy applications seamlessly to the shop floor? And we do it in a secure, robust way because our edge management system has the built-in required features for security to allow us to know where this application is going to go, on what device, on what machine, and in what facility. And so we follow very closely working with IT to make sure getting the application down to the shop floor can be easily done. But then the real differentiation for me is AI applications running on the shop floor that are interacting with real equipment. You got to make sure there are some guardrails around that it doesn't do anything, that it doesn't cause negative effects or damage to the equipment. That's also things we have built into our industrial edge platforms to built-in guardrails to make sure that AI applications, whether it's around vision or performance improvements, whatever it is, that it can be deployed safely, securely, and at scale across the system. Those are the really two big areas. Helping the operator with the co-pilot and deploying applications to the shop floor in an easy, secure way. We're doing it now when we see a big demand from our customers to do that.
So, I love this idea and, really appreciate you articulating some of the guardrails that you're using in terms of physical AI. And I'm thinking computer vision, motion.
It's the classic one.
And
exactly.
Applications like that. What are the guardrails on the co-pilot side? How are you making sure that information is accurate?
Well, of course, end customers, people who are using it, they do have to sanitize the data that they're putting up there, right? And there are additional guardrails we put in about, okay, what questions you're asking, what will the response be? The number one thing, of course, you have to make sure, and in our testing, that the co-pilot is not recommending something dangerous to the machine.
Right.
So there are guardrails in there that we've built in as far as if it feels it's recommending something outside of what it'll say, sorry, I can't help, I'm not in a position to help with that. But definitely the information that's uploaded into the co-pilot for how it works effectively, that does need to be sanitized, if you like, by the user, if you like, right? So they have the right equipment, the right data is being sent into it.
Absolutely. So, super exciting to hear, a little bit about what the future looks like there and, how you guys are using AI in new and innovative ways. But, as we're sitting here at Automate, in a lot of ways, the nexus of innovation in, a variety of industries, there's a lot of technology, both hardware and software, that we've seen lately that hasn't quite made its way out into general adoption yet. What are some of the roadblocks to, greater adoption of some of these technologies?
I think one of the biggest roadblocks we've seen, but we're working with customers to overcome this, is connection to third-party clouds. Connection. If there's a cloud solution, cloud solutions in general. I mean, of course, we do online banking. You could say, we all do it, right? So, but in industrial environments, working closely with IT to ensure that how we do safe connectivity down to the shop floor, separating the networks and the OT and IT, that will be an ongoing challenge to, that the end user manufacturers have the confidence that if they're making a connection to a cloud solution, that it's safe. And so we have systems built in, security-wise, certificates, a whole bunch of reasons. Like, how do we make it robust? How do we make it secure? At least from the Siemens side, that's what we're promoting, and that's what we're working with end customers or any customer to do that. So that's a challenge that we see.
Yeah. So, well, and as you guys are, kind of deploying these really advanced solutions, whether they be kind of GPT-driven AIs like Copilot, or more, kind of traditional automation, machine learning that is, your computer vision, your pathfinding, and things like that. What are some of the common mistakes that you see when people kind of go to put these systems into practice?
Well, I think it's we like to start small, find value, prove value, and then scale accordingly. So, don't try to eat the elephant all at once.
Right.
I think the most important thing is to identify use cases that make sense, and that can be hard sometimes. Where do you want to prioritize your effort? Is it on the worker? Is it on your design data? Is it simulation related? So I think identifying clear use cases of business value, that a technology, we're not just deploying it for the technology's sake because it looks cool and it sounds cool. Is it going to save money? Is it going to reduce downtime? I mean, for example, we're working with a large end user with our Copilot topic now, where they reckon it can save a considerable amount of money per week in downtime because the parameters of this line are so sensitive that if it's any way deviates, they could lose a large part of their product. And so an operator running that line, you know, this is where take advantage of that extra AI muscle that can help with that. But of course, the use cases where you would deploy it have to be clearly defined. So that's one thing. The other area, though, which is a big discussion, is the whole topic of data. And how are you managing the data? And we see maybe one area that companies should start, and if you're trying to pull data out of systems, what are you doing to contextualize the data? How are you managing your unstructured data from a variety of different machine sources? That's a project in itself. At Siemens, we can help with that. We have a variety of tools to help upload data and then structure it and put some sort of context around it so that it's contextualized before it goes anywhere else. So looking at the data, where is the data stored? How are you doing your data contextualization? Those are kind of areas to get started, because if you don't, I think this happened maybe a couple of years ago when cloud systems first came out. It was all about the data, people would upload it, and it was nobody was doing anything with it.
Right.
It was gazillion, too much data. No one had no idea how to work with it because it was too much and it wasn't contextualized. So start small, find value, identify a clear use case where it's going to reduce the downtime or save money, help an operator, whatever it would be. It doesn't have to be a massive project that will start and it can grow. I would also say looking at don't tie yourself into siloed solutions. That, you know, if you deploy something onto the shop floor to help, think about, well, how can that grow? How am I going to scale this? If this one AI application is deployed to this one machine, how do I deploy that to the 10 machines across 100 facilities? What do you have to have in place to do that? How do you scale? That's something to kind of think about as you try to deploy technology, so it doesn't become a science project, basically.
And in many ways, these questions more important now than ever, because we are seeing so much more interest in automation, both kind of large companies and then small and mid-sized folks that were looking at kind of the environment around onshoring and moving more production back into the United States, back into North America. How are you seeing that affect your business and then kind of play out in the sector overall?
It's huge, and it goes back to maybe one of the three main topics that we see. So the first one I mentioned, deploying AI. The second one about helping workers with Copilot for operations in the shop floor. The third one that's very big, it's been around a while, but it's becoming more and more important now, is simulation. And if you're if you're like a greenfield, if you're developing a new facility, this is where simulation really helps. It's kind of, putting simulation in after the fact is the value really there? But for a greenfield scenario where you can lay out the facility, what is the optimum layout, the throughput, the networking, where should the machines be, and then validating the automation systems that go into there before anything is built. So that's a technology that when your companies onshoring back to the US, I would say that's the right time to embrace the simulation, whether it's deep level physics simulation for some process, or it's just generic simulation robots, as we see hundreds of robots around us here.
Right.
How can you simulate those lines? It's what we have in our booth here, simulation of production lines with lots of robots, or it's just generic value stream mapping at the start and simple throughput analysis and bottlenecks. That's where a real value of simulation can happen for onshoring, for sure. So, and also maybe companies investing it, like from an executive level. How do they know that this line is going to produce as much as it needs to? Simulation is a key technology in that, to make sure that the investments you're making are there. Prove out the automation technology as quickly as possible and validate it. So I don't know if that, hopefully that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. So Colm, tell me a little bit about what we're seeing behind us here. I know this is one of the exhibitions that you were most excited to share.
Yeah, so what behind me here, you can see our wall of simulation. And this is where we are showing where we can bring in validating robotic cells. We're virtually commissioning the automation code against that robotic cell. And what's really unique here is that we see in some cases people developing robot simulation maybe in different locations, and they maybe have different instances of their simulation software. So to work collaboratively in a team, we can bring this together and we can push it into the industrial omniverse, or the metaverse, which is NVIDIA's omniverse, but we're showing here behind us. So that's a very interesting way to render simulation scenes in a very large way to do it.
That's incredible. Well, Colm, I really appreciate you taking the time to catch up with me. Thank you so much. It was so interesting. So I'm still here at the Siemens booth with my friends Colm and Kristen, and I'm excited to learn a little bit more about their Copilot technology.
Yeah, I know. So from our little introduction at the start, right, we talked about how to deploy AI applications to the shop floor with Industrial Edge. We talked about simulation for new greenfields. But one of the real highlights we have in this show for helping operators on the shop floor is our Industrial Copilot for Operations. And I'd like to introduce my colleague, Kristen Quasey, who is a product manager, who would maybe give a better overview than I ever can for this tool.
So today we're showing our Industrial Copilot for Operations. So really what we have here, first of all, is a digital twin of a packaging machine. And then we have our Industrial Copilot software where we can interact with the machine as if you are talking to an expert who has been working on this machine for years. So you can get live data from your machine along with documentation information. So you can ask the Copilot things like, how many products have been produced today? What type of errors are we seeing on the machine? And not only what is that error, but how do I fix it? So the Copilot can give you step-by-step instructions on what to do next. So great for a operator who's new on the shop floor and needs to figure out where to get started with solving some of these maintenance issues, or even an expert who maybe is working on the night shift, and instead of calling someone at 3 in the morning to get help, they can chat with the Copilot and help troubleshoot some of the errors that they've got seen.
That's incredible. So in a lot of ways, you're kind of condensing, 30 or 50 years worth of experience into just one unified portal for folks, and taking it down to, kind of a comprehension level that anyone can interact with. Is that fair to say?
Yes, exactly. So we want to be able to kind of capture all the tribal knowledge, as we say, of expert engineers and operators, and be able to have that information kind of stored here in our Copilots, and then anybody can use the Copilot. You just need to chat with it in natural language. So basically, however you speak is how you can type to the Copilot, and it'll be able to understand what you're saying and give you back, hopefully, the answer you're looking for.
So what are some of the questions that you can ask? What's some of the information that I could get from this guy?
Yeah, definitely. So some of the examples we have today are looking at how many parts have been produced, how many good parts versus how many scrap parts. Looking at what is the current error that we're seeing, and then looking at how do we fix this error with step-by-step instructions. A neat feature we also have is we can ask the Copilot to send you a notification once an error has occurred. So you can actually get an email pop-up when a specific error that you might be especially concerned about occurs on your machine. You can have it actually, ping you and let you know what is going wrong.
So I want to back up just a little bit. Are you saying there's real production data? Like you can access production data here on a daily basis?
Yeah, so
That's incredible.
our Copilot's connected through OPC UA. So any information your PLC is able to capture, we can access here on the Copilot. And then any documentation you have. So any manuals, working instructions, ticketing information, basically as long as it's a text-based system, even emails, we can have those uploaded into the Copilot and then interact with it through asking questions.
So it's not just for when things go wrong.
No, not at all. Yeah, it can help you with getting started, starting up the machine, walking you through that process, helping you understand different features within a machine. So not just for when things go wrong, but really any time that you just need a little bit more information about the product that you're working on.
That's incredible. And now tell me a little bit about the other side of the screen over here, this maybe a digital twin?
Yeah, so this is a digital twin of a packaging machine. So we're showing this on our digital industry software tool called NX MCD. So basically we have a live digital twin of a machine where we have some parts moving around and being boxed up. And yeah, we're able to connect to the digital twin and then pull real-time information from it as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome.
Is there anything else you want to share about this station here?
Just that we have a lot of different industrial co-pilot tools that Siemens is going to be releasing. So generative AI is really a key focus from Siemens right now, and you'll see it integrated in a lot of our different tools, from designing tools to engineering tools to predictive maintenance and services tools. So a lot more to come from Siemens with industrial co-pilots.
Well, then on that note, I have to ask, are we close to generating robot code? Are we close to being able to actually generate programming that could go into a real physical machine?
Yes, so we actually have our industrial co-pilot for engineering as well, which is all about generating automation code. So that is going to be integrated with our CIA portal engineering platform. So from there, that can help you create SCL code, create HMI visualization. So that's all about programming PLCs and automation hardware.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking
Thank
the
you
time
so
to speak
much.
with me.
Yeah,
I really
thank
appreciate
you.
it. And we'll be back soon with more exciting updates from Automate 2025. Thanks for tuning in to Beyond the Box.